got a joke for you. How many telekinetic lesbian snipers does it take to clear a road? Check your fire, bitch!
Hi everyone, today I've got something special for you. One of the most ambitious games I think I've ever seen. Let's start with the main menu. This has got to be one of the most grotesque and freaky looking main menus I've ever seen. I love it. The fleshy look is something we are going to have to get used to in this game. The menu music is also great. It's eerie and really gives off an otherworldly feeling to the game. I think I just need to get this out the way early. I really like this game, but I shouldn't, and this game gives you many reasons as to why you shouldn't like it, but I do. Also, I should make it clear that I have played this game before, numerous times actually, but I've never actually played it on PC, so this is my first playthrough. I bought this game some time ago on Xbox 360, I think at around 2008 or 2009, around a year or so after it had come out. But even at the time, even for 2007, it didn't break down any walls that hadn't been broken down already. Its gameplay is bad to mediocre at best. The graphics aside from the characters isn't anything to sing about either, but where the game does shine is the story and its well written characters. And some really good voice acting too, but I'm getting too far ahead of myself right now. Let's start at the beginning of Clive Barker's Jericho. You play as Captain Devin Ross, a psychic and the leader of the Jericho squad. This squad is made up of the best, a collection of the best super soldiers who are all important in their own right. You've been sent by the Department of Occult Warfare to combat the Firstborn in the ancient city of Al-Khali. The Firstborn is the first creature God had ever created, and he was so disturbed by his creation he locked it away. The Firstborn, as you would expect, didn't like this and tried to break free from his prison multiple times in fact. These breakouts would take place in a place called the Box inside Al-Khali. It's happening again, only this time a new breach has been created by one Arnold Leach, a former member of the Department of Occult Warfare who was seduced by the Firstborn. It is now up to the Jericho squad to stop him and the Firstborn and the breach. And that's where I'm going to stop for now, because the story gets really confusing if you attempt to indulge it all in one take. The game starts with you as Captain Ross being briefed a bit about who Jericho is and what the Department of Occult Warfare is. You see these sort of introductions in some army or warfare films, it's no different here. Rulings, a priest, and don't worry, we are going to talk about the characters in a minute. Rulings talks about Arnold Leach, the previously mentioned member of the Department of Occult Warfare, who now leads something called the Brotherhood of the Dark Rapture. Basically, these guys were trying to find Al-Khali, they have, and now they're trying to open the breach. Alright, let's go into the team. First, I want to talk about Frank Delgado, my favourite character. He seems to be the only one who ever thinks logically. He questions a lot of things that you'd expect the others to question but don't. It's really odd. He has some of the best one-liners in the game.
Hey, congratulations, Abby! Now you finally know what it's like to have a man inside you.
Fuck you.
He has a deagle, minigun, and a fire demon which he can summon to attack enemies. It's basically just a homing missile. Next we have Father Rollins, who is unintentionally funny at all times. He dual wields deagles and they're not as fun as you would expect, but his main purpose in this team is his healing abilities, and I can't tell you how much I value this man as a teammate, but a bit more on that later. Next is Billy Church. Her abilities are cool, she's a nice addition to the team. She has a sword and it's somewhat fun to use, and couple the sword with her blood ward and you can usually one-hit enemies. From what I understand, she's in a relationship with Frank Delgado. Some of the lines he says about her indicate more than just a friendship. Then we move on to Abigail Black, who basically has the Force. She's a telekinetic sniper who can slow down bullets and control them mid-flight. She's got a venomous tongue, I really like her. On to Xavier Jones next, who is a seer and uses astral projection. By that description alone, there should be plenty of substance to his character. But I think out of the entire squad, he has the biggest wasted potential, and I'll explain a little bit more on that later. Finally, there's Simone Cole. This character's interesting, extremely interesting. She's the only member of Jericho with no supernatural abilities. They are completely technological related. She is also autistic. In her younger years, she showed intelligence beyond her years. They call her a reality hacker. She can slow down time and aid the squad by giving them a buff. And that pretty much summarizes the Jericho squad. I think we have a solid group of characters here. They have really good chemistry. None of them really feel out of place. They each have their own individual stories and they're brought together by this one big story. You know, you learn through dialogue little things like Father Rollins saving Cole and Billy from a mental asylum, or like I mentioned before, Delgado and Billy being in a relationship. So now we know the team, let's get going, let's get this underway. So you enter Al-Khali and get used to this miserable colour, you'll be seeing it a lot. The environment is, I suppose, okay at first glance. I mean, it's nothing impressive, but once you realise this is all you'll be seeing for large portions of the game, you'll quickly grow tired of the same uninspired, dull, lifeless environments, which have very rare spikes of beauty. Anyway, Ross asks Cole and Jones to scan the environment, but they both come up with nothing. No readings, nothing. It is here we are introduced to the enemies of our game. Now I want you to take this in for a moment. The Jericho squad is built on the premise of these guys being the best of the best. They are the best the department has to offer. These are the ones who are supposed to save us from the rapture. And this is how Captain Ross, the man who is supposed to lead these super soldiers against the most powerful being ever made, responds to this situation.
Jericho, take cover. U.S. Army, halt! Show me your hands.
Easy, guys. They could be friendlies.
They're not stopping.
Ross, you need to look at this.
What you got?
I don't think they're alive, sir.
Permission to fire.
Hold fire!
Bullshit, man! Look at them!
Pretty much everyone who has a voice line here knows that these guys are hostiles. They make that clear. But Ross doesn't agree. Ross is different. So in our first encounter with an enemy, Ross has shown serious incompetence. Delgado, being one of the few to see sense in the situation, is going to become quite a familiar sight. So get used to it. So anyway, Cole says she does a full sweep and finds nothing, and now their radios are completely dead with the outside world. It's just them in Al-Khali now. Ross says it's nothing but a temporal distortion, nothing out of the ordinary for them. Yeah, tell the expert in her field that this mega problem isn't a problem. Abigail Black even suggests that they abort the mission, and Ross dismisses another member again, and then proceeds to split the two groups up. You can see why he dies. Yeah, Captain Ross just straight up dies 30 fucking minutes into the game. But I've skipped ahead a bit, so let's track back just a tiny bit. We get our first glimpse of this strange child which will be reoccurring in the story. It's the same one from our dreams who says they've been expecting us. This thing is seriously creepy, and when it speaks in a way where one tone will say a word and then a completely different tone will say another. It's seriously creepy. This song also plays whenever you see the mysterious figure too. It really feels like a special moment is happening.
Ross?
Shh. Listen.
We've been expecting you.
Over there, look! Don't move!
Eventually we meet up with another agent who goes by the name Muriel. She starts freaking out, but Father Rollins quickly calms her down. But don't get too attached to her now, she dies. The other half of the team become overwhelmed, so they require your assistance. You go and help them, leaving Muriel vulnerable. I'm not going to keep count of how many bad decisions Ross makes in this game, because by the time we're done, I would have created a new number. You fight some more bad guys and then that strange child appears again. Ross approaches the child and it triggers an attack by Leech, which leads to Ross being killed by Leech. And once again, I'm pointing out Delgado's reaction to this fucked up looking child with yellow eyes and obsidian skin.
What the fuck is that?
So Ross is dead, and this is where the main mechanic of the game comes in. As Ross is dying, his soul travels into Delgado, and you now control Delgado. And eventually, you'll control the rest of the squad, hopping from person to person, because apparently death works completely different in the box of Al-Khali. The group argue for a bit, and it's understandable. Ross just died in front of them, and now he's claiming to be inside them, telling them information that only he could know. You leap from Delgado to Black to Church, and Delgado delivers a terrible joke which is kind of funny. The type of funny where you don't want to laugh because it's so bad, but you still laugh anyway.
Hey, Abby, I got a joke for you. How many telekinetic lesbian snipers does it take to clear a road?
We move forward a little bit and now controlling the rest of the squad, we encounter different enemies this time. Enemies with guns actually. Deformed Nazis. It turns out the portal, aka the breach we leapt into during Ross's death, took us back to 1942. You continue along the painstaking linear path with no chance of exploration until you come across a bunch of turrets. Only one person can solve this. You take over Cole and slow down time. You sneak behind the turrets, taking them out one by one as you plant C4 inside them. We are then treated to a quick time event with the boss of this particular era, one Lich Hammer who has her hands all over Cole. Cole manages to break free, and as she's backing up she's touched on the shoulder by Jones and screams louder than ever before. Remember that she has autism, and this is probably a lot harder for her than it is for others. Tensions seem to flare up again. Delgado and Rollins get into an argument after Delgado asks him where the previous squad who was sent to close the breach went to, saying he didn't sign up for no suicide mission. Rawlings seems to know more about this mission than the others do. This of course causes tension in the group, and Delgado, being the hothead he is, lifts his gun to Rollins. Rollins says he better use that gun if he's gonna lift it. Delgado then shoots Rollins point blank in the face, knocking him to the floor. All this pretty much serves as is a tutorial on how to revive people, that's it. So you revive Rollins and he wants Delgado arrested, and rightfully so. Jones, who is then basically second in command, says that Delgado needs to tell the group his gun accidentally discharged and he hit Rollins so that he can't be arrested. Rollins isn't happy, but Delgado says, yeah, my gun accidentally discharged. And then we move on to our first boss fight. It comes against the previously mentioned Lich Hammer. It's not particularly great. She's just a complete sponge, like every other enemy in this game, to be honest. Her attacks are pretty weird. She's a powerful psychic according to Rollins, and should be even more powerful now after being assimilated by the first one. But no, the fight starts and she's throwing spin kicks and backhanded slaps at you. And to be fair, she does quite a good job. A few hits and you're dead. It's on to the next character. Anyway, someone interrupts the fight and helps you out. We'll discover who that is a bit later on. You fight the same old enemies, and even though we're just at the beginning of the game, it's beginning to get boring already. And then we come to the part that requires Jones. You use Jones' astral projection ability that I mentioned earlier. You project yourself onto the child so you can unlock the gate. This skill has so much potential, but it just feels so flat, and this is my problem with Jones. He should be a powerful seer who can bounce from enemy to enemy, possessing them and turning them against each other. He should be able to do that, but he can't. His power and abilities are completely situational. Aside from a few almost cutscene like moments, his ability is useless, completely useless. You can't use it in normal battle. There's no reason why he cannot possess an enemy during normal combat and warp their minds so they turn against one another. The game completely handcuffs you with this character that's supposed to be a lot more powerful than they show here. The other characters at least have abilities where they could be used in general gameplay, even if they suck. For example, Father Rollins' revival is bad. Very, very bad, because it's so fucking slow. I mean, look at this. He throws the energy ball which revives them, and then it gives you like a view of the person being revived. Why? Why am I seeing this? Just let me control Rollins again. And speaking of Rollins, I want to tell you why for me he is the most important character. The god-awful AI makes him the best character because he is the only one apart from you who can revive others, and you'll be doing plenty of reviving in this game. The AI in this game seems to think they are invincible. They go down so much it almost becomes a reviving simulator at times, and oh, don't get me started on these explosive cultists. These guys are the very worst enemies in the game by a long mile. I absolutely hate these guys with my entire being. They aren't designed unfairly or designed badly or anything like that. It doesn't feel like a bullshit enemy. They have weak spot on their bodies that when you shoot them cause them to die. Sometimes they might have 2, sometimes they might have 4, it depends. But the god awful AI that's programmed into your teammates make these explosive cultists complete team killers. Watch here as one of these guys wipes out 3 of my teammates including Rollins.
Down.
A single enemy just took out half my squad. Why are they not moving? Why are they not running? Why? You better keep Rollins alive by all costs, everything you've got, if you don't want to be continuously reviving your teammates. But look, I'm getting sidetracked. Let's move on. We finally meet up with those guys who helped us with Lich Hammer. It turns out it's a band of English soldiers who call themselves Black Watch. The captain basically expands on a story calling this place the Pixies, saying when you die you belong to the Firstborn and become all sorts of messed up. He just blabs on a bit more about the Firstborn, saying God trapped it in what these guys call the toy box called the Pixies, and every time it tries to break out it takes more and more of our world with it, and the cycle carries on. Each time 7 unlucky buggers are sent on a suicide mission to close the breach. This time it's Jericho's turn. It's a lot to take in, I know. Alongside the English Black Watch you fight more of these enemies, and more and more and more. It's very repetitive, very boring. It's completely linear with no chance of exploration. All the atmosphere and story building accounts for nothing in these parts, because all you're doing is the same ridiculous wave battle after wave battle against the same monster or two. One of the Black Watch members suggests splitting up because there was a loud explosion which would attract more enemies. It's not like we haven't seen these guys spawning directly out the ground or whatever. So after he suggests that, Ross agrees with it, saying that one half of the team could go with them and the rest could go after Lich Hammer. More of the same shit, more shooting, more blank corridors, and we are led to one of the best bits in this particular era. We come to a somewhat open era and it leads to another, you guessed it, wave of monsters that you have to defeat. Once they're defeated you use Billy's Blood Ward. Did I mention she's a blood ninja? You manage to freeze Lich Hammer and she's tied up. Rollins is about to perform an exorcism which happens in the form of a quick time event. During this, Lich Hammer is showcasing a filthy mouth, screeching all kinds of badness. I really like this part, to be honest. It reminds me of Reagan from The Exorcist.
How's this for original? The Blood Witch wants you would fuck her the way her father did. Isn't that right?
I'll take it from here. Step away from her. In nomine
Do you think the word of God has any meaning, you pederast son of a whore? Defiler of children! I devour you!
Look at the graphics on Lich Hammer. I haven't mentioned it yet, but some of these characters look astonishing. May I remind you, this game came out in 2007. They look so fleshy and bloody, like every moment they exist it hurts to breathe. It sort of reminds me of Frank from Hellraiser. The part where he's in its extremely fleshy stage where you can see all this cartilage and stuff is gruesome. You complete the exorcist and then you find out to open the breach we have to kill Lich Hammer, which Billy does, and then it's on to the next era. But not before the Black Watch guys tell you they aren't coming. They need to stay back apparently and help the next 7 in case another breach opens or something, I'm not sure. The next level kicks off with this overwhelming sound of footsteps with the view of a massive fortress. It looks crazy.
AD, sir. Which way?
Jones, you got any hunches we can follow?
Cole tells you that she could tell due to the planet's alignment that we are in 2013 AD. Honestly, it looks quite cool. It's quite a change in scenery and it's really welcome, to be honest. We then come across this sub-boss. He's easy, he spits out blood, you kill him and then you bump into 2 more. Again, it's easy. Going forward, we then allow Ross to once again show his incompetence as a leader. For some reason, he makes Omega Team suppress fire while Alpha crosses the bridge. Why are the ones suppressing fire the guys with a sniper, pistol and a sword? May I remind you that fucking Delgado has a literal minigun. There's no reason for him to not be the one suppressing fire. This leads to Omega Team falling off a bridge. It looks like they're dead, but it's not confirmed. We are then greeted by a Templar who says they are as good as gone. We follow him and then he traps us into a prison. We are then face to face with Leech once again. Leech is somehow convinced the Templars he is Gabriel, and then the Templars suddenly force choking Abigail Black.
He's lying. He's trying to set the Firstborn free.
Silence, witch! You dare address the Seraphim Gabriel?
Rise, my son. There is still much work to do for our Lord.
Of course.
What? The Templar has force magic too? The game then tries to do this really sneaky thing where Delgado mentions that we need Billy to be sneaky. So the game is actively telling you that the best way to tackle the next part is through stealth.
Billy, we need your silent efficiency to clear the way.
Let me scout ahead. They don't even know I'm there. Am I the only one hearing that?
So I sneak into the tunnels, stealthily kill this one guy, and then the very next guy sees me from 10 feet away. Then the enemies start bursting out the ground. So it was a lie, a complete and utter lie. No change in pace, no different gameplay, no nothing. Back to waves and waves of the same enemies you've killed 1,000 times. Why did they even add that line? Was Delgado just trying to be nice to his girlfriend or something? The three of you continue forward, and it's particularly grueling because there's no rulings this time, meaning any time your teammates go down you have to revive them, and you face the exploding guys a lot in this part. You eventually come across one of the Templars. He's chained up, he looks insane, he's got nails on his head and everything. He's been tortured for years. Just by his appearance he would make a fantastic Cenobite. Anyway, he explains that a bishop convinced the Pope that he found the Garden of Eden. The bishop convinced the Pope that Christian children couldn't be harmed by a heathen spear tip or bow, and so they marched the Child Templar army against the Saracens. The kids got murked, obviously, and the blood spilled opened the breach. That's fucking cool. The Templar then says the bishop and the children are down in the crypt, and if our friends are there, we best say a prayer and run. To which Black replies,
Fuck that.
We go on, more fighting. This time we are met with a new enemy. Crossbow wielding guys now. Yay. Some more waves, and then we are treated to our first solo part of the game. We need to use Billy Church to climb into a tunnel. Things get a little bit spooky now. It's the first time we are alone, from 6 allies to this. Enemies take way less damage. These guys' health bars change all the time. They also change damage on a whim too. I swear I've been hit 5 times by the same guy and not even been blooded, and then another time I'll be one punched by the same guy at a later stage. It makes 0 sense to me. We reach a tunnel and begin to go down it, and in typical Jericho fashion it is done with another QTE. Only this time we look up and ooh, scary. There's a guy and he begins chasing us. He dive bombs us and we are treated to more beautiful graphics. I mean seriously, look at these enemies, they look so good and fleshy. If this game got anything right, it's the design of the enemies and the characters. Here we learn Billy's new ability. She cuts herself as she does all the time because she's a blood ninja, and throws a fireball thing that burns everyone. While this is happening we are treated to this piece. It isn't bad, it just feels out of place. It's so somber and I don't think it necessarily fits the scene well. Remember when I said enemies change health and damage? Yeah, this is exactly what I was talking about. Those same crossbow guys who were barely scratching me before are now downing me in one hit and are almost invincible. What's going on here? It isn't even like I'm back to my 3-man squad. It's the same 3 as before. Also, something strange I've noticed. There are certainly hidden stats. Delgado for sure requires more hits to go down, and Billy feels like she's slightly faster than the others, but this is never made clear, and it even gets to a point where you think it might be a placebo. More and more generic waves of enemies later and we get to a sewer level. Same funeral music is playing. I could be wrong, but maybe because it's building up to our meeting with the bishop, it's trying to build up the atmosphere with church or chapel sounding ambience. I'm not sure. We make it through the sewers and we make it onto one of the best parts of the game. You come across these little tiny coffins, and after a bit of banter between the characters, we are met with little ghastly figures floating around. All of a sudden those transparent figures become not so transparent anymore as they turn into little demon tentacle Templar monsters. They make horrific noises, and I mean dreadful noises. This game is extremely dark, but fighting demon Templar children who are full of anger and sadness because they were brutally slaughtered in the name of religion tops anything else this game has done before. You fight some more Templar demon children and then you're reunited with the others. Jones and Cole are both clearly traumatized by the children, Cole a lot more than Jones is. Black then has a little one-to-one with Cole and calms her down by talking to her about things she likes. We then go on to the boss battle. We finally meet the bishop. I can't decide whether I like this battle or not. The bishop looks cool as hell, and I've said it before, but man, I really like the character designs in this game. It's a solid 10 out of 10 for me. So the bishops can't be damaged normally and can only be hurt after his one and only attack. The bishops and all enemy for that matter suffer from this main character syndrome when they target whoever you're controlling and no one else. Well, very rarely do they target others. So in theory you want to control the least valuable member and drag the bishop to the other side of the map whilst the other... Did you just see that? Am I seeing things? Is that the Jericho squad running away from something? Are they taking the initiative? The AI is being smart for once. Anyway, after I'm through with the shock of seeing my teammates actually run from danger, you take the bishop out. Templar demon children want their revenge and they're helping you, just kind of whipping this guy to death, and then the breach opens when he dies, so on to the next. Hey, there's a guy on a crucifix. He doesn't say much. He just moans. We find another guy on a crucifix. This one's a lot more talkative, but we have to speak through Jones, of course. This guy basically just says he's one of the 7 centurions who tried to stop the firstborn, who managed to convince their leader, Emperor Viscus, to open the breach. Delgado once again voices his displeasure at the whole suicide mission thing, and this is where the whole thing gets confusing. Rawlins says they know what the firstborn wants. It wants freedom. But this centurion throws a spanner in the works and just says it might not be what it wants. I guess it's up for interpretation, but I understand this as the firstborn maybe wanting to feel love, something it never felt before. But again, I don't know, the story gets so confusing now. Anyway, he says we must find Emperor Viscus, so off we go. We get to a Delgado solo part. I mean, yeah, I'm up for that. A spotlight moment for my favourite character. I love his abilities. I'm up for this. So you learn his second ability here, which makes him immune to fire, but it's literally the only point in the game where it's used. It's so ultimately useless after this little part. You never use it again, really. Okay, now we've got to a solo part with my favourite character. I think it's good that we quickly touch on the gunplay here. I'll be honest, I really like it. The weapons feel responsive, and despite the enemies, even the smaller ones being complete bullet sponges, it's still satisfying to just unload into enemies. You also have pretty much all bases covered here. You have every weapon you could ask for, apart from a shotgun. But then there's the shotgun attachment on Ross's gun, which is the same gun Jones uses anyway. Despite the massive minigun Delgado has, I really like his pistol. It's a bunch of fun to use it and just pop heads right off. Anyway, you continue as Delgado for a bit and then something unique happens. You come up against a wave of demons from the first level. Yay! The horror aspect of the game really shows in moments like this. It's creepy when you're alone, and it was the same with Billy back in the other level. It's just the feeling of being alone, a feeling that's usually familiar in horror games, but not in this one. This game isn't particularly scary. It's a horror game, yes, but I don't necessarily have a problem with it not being as typically scary as others. Some will be angry that it's not as scary as they expected, but it's a nice change of pace from games where you can't even lift a finger to the big bad enemies. It's nice to see you take it to them. So then you kill the waves off, and then this happens. That's bullshit. That's disgusting. That fucking enraged me so much. I can't explain how much I hate these guys. After this, I lost my head. I got sloppy. I had to redo the whole Delgado segment again, and I kept dying. I put the game down because I needed a break. I came back and did it in one go. I don't know why that previous segment got me so angry, but it did. I found it so hard. More waves, more Jones scripted events, and we continue to the Emperor. The entire time we're in the Roman place, we can see these murals, busts, and just pieces of art dedicated to this fat, grotesque looking man. He looks so cool and awesome and grotesque. It's fair to assume this is Emperor Viscus. Something that kept me stuck for a while was this part. It's simple enough. It's extremely simple. There's 3 pressure plates. 1 for you to stand on and 2 others. Now you have got to get Jericho to stand on the others, but the game doesn't tell you that. It doesn't need to. It's obvious what you have to do. Everyone has to stand on a plate, but you don't know how because you are on the other side of the hole. You can't switch back, so you have to independently tell Alpha and Omega to step on each switch by pressing 1 and 3. But never before in the game has the game instructed you to use this. You've never been required to use this. It's stupid. I was stuck here for a long time pressing all kinds of buttons, and I even paused this recording. I noticed when I was googling to see if I had the same problem, and believe it or not, others had this problem too. So you get them to stand on it, the bridge opens, and hey look, Emperor Viscus. Man, he looks like he's seen better days. This man is the literal embodiment of gluttony. He is a very wide man who's been doing nothing but having sex, eating and eating some more. Oh, and he also eats other people. He eats anything he can get his hands on actually. So basically the glass below you caves in, you fall into his trap, and then you wake up in a Colosseum because there has to be a Colosseum level in the Roman era. Why not? More enemies, and hey, even a new enemy, and then we're done. Finally onto Emperor Viscus. He's hanging off some hooks which are attached to the skin of his back. Is really a sight. He attacks you by ripping open his stomach and spewing blood all over you. And oh, while this is happening, a giant gladiator is attacking you. This boss is annoying, very annoying. At one point, whilst using Delgado, I'm pretty sure a glitch happened. Look at this. I unloaded 300 or more bullets into this guy before the blood can spew, and nothing seems to be happening. Whatever, I lace him with some more bullets with whoever it automatically takes me to after the character I'm using goes down, and eventually I take him down with Delgado. When he's defeated, you have to push his corpse to the middle of the room, but it's so frustrating. You have to use black to force push him at just the right angle so the breach opens. Why? Why am I doing this? Why can't the breach just open? Alright, we're almost there. It's the final lap. This is the God Seal. Jones is suddenly possessed by the first ever person to fight the Firstborn. A man called, and I'm going to butcher this, Antederuden. I don't know. In short, he tells you that a Sumerian priest called Erishkigal, again butchered, was seduced by the Firstborn and created this temple with the help of 10,000 warriors, and then killed them all, opening the breach. This guy, along with another 6, snuck into the army. And I just want to say at this point, this is absolutely ridiculous. I've played this game many times and I'm still not able to fully grasp what's going on. Basically what happens is a boss gauntlet. You need to recover the Sumerian and piece him together so that he can help you seal the breach once and for all. You get to this temple, it looks insane. White lines shoot through all of us and we are teleported. Jericho is separated. Ross floats around for a bit until he finds one of the members, which happens to be Black. You eventually find Jones. The two of you take on the first boss. I hate this boss. I hate all the bosses in this game, to be honest. They aren't fun. This one in particular because you use Black, who has a slow one-shot sniper, and this being a close and personal fight can feel like a hindrance at times, and Jones and his crappy seer abilities, which don't affect general gameplay. You have potentially the two worst characters you could use for this particular boss. Anyway, it turns out Jones isn't as useless as you would think, because for this boss you have to use his astral protection ability. You possess one of the bodies and unlock this Iron Maiden or something, I don't know what that is, and in that short time you shoot the demon priestess inside, all whilst being attacked by this fire throwing guy. And oh, I forgot to say, there's also enemies spawning. It's not nice. During this fight, for some reason the fire guy just dies. I didn't think you could kill him. This just leaves you and the boss and the odd enemy who spawns. What's the point of killing this guy or making him killable? Why not have whoever it is in the Iron Maiden and the fire throwing guy have the same life? Anyway, you kill them and on to the next one. All of a sudden, Delgado throws himself through a wall and praise the Lord. Rollins is with him. The next boss is lame too. She's just like the fat Roman guy. Big companion doing all the work, but this one's even easier. You can kill the big guy this time. He stays away for a while before respawning. Basically, you just shoot the bodies, providing her with blood, and she becomes vulnerable, and you unload. It's easy, it's not a challenge, it's a waste of time. Alright, and then we move on to the final boss before the Firstborn. It's these two priests. More boringness. They look cool, but that's about it. Shoot the sacks on the ceiling, which are providing two of them with flies, which give them power. Once they are all gone, you once again unload. Give it all you got, and they're dead. And with them two gone, you recover all the pieces of the Sumerian guy who claims to have created Jericho all those years ago, and now we can revive him and finally close the breach. This is him. He for sure doesn't look like a bad guy now. He spews some nonsense about how we won't be forgotten, and when he closes the breach, we will be in a dreamless sleep with all the other people. And this is where Rawlins and Cole drop my favourite line.
Simone, are you okay?
I'm okay, sir.
I'm sorry I brought you into this. You deserve better. Would you like to pray with me?
I'm an atheist, sir.
I guess not then.
The delivery is priceless. The banter and relationship between these guys is amazing, and what carries this game. Delgado then sees a problem in what the Sumerian is saying. He says the Sumerian is talking out of his arse and points to the Centurion and Templars who aren't dreaming. They're going mad. Again, Rawlins and Delgado butt heads, and eventually Jones pulls rank. Black and Ross and almost everyone else for that matter finally see sense. Delgado walks up to the priest and blows his fucking brains out. Fuck off, Sumerian priest. Delgado then dives headfirst into the portal. Rawlins and Ross have a little moment, and Rawlins debates whether he's gonna come in, but then they all do. So it's Firstborn time. You end up in some rather bland looking cave. Disappointing really, I expected more. Leech is in here too, as well as the Firstborn. It blabs on a bit about how it will absorb us all and then finally be able to escape. Then suddenly Cole and Jones just blow up. Interesting that they kill these two. So 3 Jericho members have died during this mission. First Ross and now Cole and Jones. So we move on to the Firstborn battle. It's okay, it's unique at least. The Firstborn uses each remaining member's powers against them. My favourite involves the Firstborn's fire demon fighting against Delgado's fire demon. It's really cool. I mean, this battle's a little anticlimactic. It's not too hard and it kind of just flies by. The end comes when Billy's blood warg freezes the little bastard, and then she cuts the little shits to shreds. He goes flying, and some reason Leech has a face turn and grabs the Firstborn, dragging it towards the light. Ross tells the crew to bolt for the water, and you do exactly that. Sun swimming, and then that's it. The end of the game. Clive Barker's Jericho ends on a cliffhanger. You are left with the swaying ocean as the credits roll and the Firstborn's theme plays. I'm not too pleased by the ending, but I'm also not disappointed. The ending was obviously chosen with the mindset of making a number 2, which was in development but got cancelled. That gets a massive thumbs down from me. I'm not happy about that at all. The core problem of this game is obviously its gameplay. The story, voice acting, music and character designs heavily carry this game. This game had a ton of potential. In an era where modern shooters that were being produced were full of Call of Duties and its clones, this was unique. It explored occultism in a way I haven't seen before. It will remain one of the most unique games I've ever played. The characters deserve so much better than just one game. There's so much to explore with these guys. For example, if you look at the bonus content which tells us more about the characters, it reveals some details like Abigail Black having repressed feelings for Jones despite being a lesbian. That boss fight with the two of them suddenly just became a bit more meaningful knowing pieces of information like this. This game divides opinion for sure. I've seen so many people say how much they love this game despite its many flaws, while others claim it's the worst game of all time. Whichever side you sit on, it's fair to say Jericho is polarising. Many years after its release, it's still going strong with support for a sequel. I found this on ArtStation by a concept artist by the name of Tariq Boussakin. I'm sorry if I've got that wrong. He designed some awesome Jericho 2 concept art. All of it is completely fan made of course, but this looks like it would fit right into the universe. I, like so many others, am so disappointed we'll never see another game. There's no doubt a market for it exists, but I don't know if the market is large enough to justify making a sequel. But I will say that those that love this game love it hard, and if a Kickstarter ever popped up, I'll be eager to see how much backing it would receive. I think Jericho and its characters at least deserve a book or a comic at bare minimum. There's far too much context and substance here to be left as it is. That's a testament to a great mind, the great mind of Clive Barker, and none of this would have been possible without him. But no matter how much we cry and whine, their fate is sealed. The Jericho squad is done. The game, its amazing story, wonderful characters will soon be forgotten about. Their first mission turned out to be their only mission together, a fate Frank Delgado tried so hard to prevent.